Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 237. I'm your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday evening into Thursday, and we are part of the Foul Territory network of podcasts. At Hammer Territory, we cover the Braves all year round, and today we're taking a little bit of a break from the Major League Club as things are not going very well. As we probably all know by now, the Braves lost again on Wednesday afternoon, for example. But I spoke to Gaurav Vedak of PJ Prospects and Battery Power about the MLB Draft and the Braves' haul in that draft, as well as the impact on the minor league system. And we discussed all of that on Tuesday and wanted to run that in the feed now on this Wednesday evening. So again, we'll have much more Major League content. The MLB trade deadline is about a week away as I'm recording this podcast. There could be emergency shows in the near future. Marcell Ozuna, of course, has been rumblings about him. Raisel Iglesias, relievers, etc. We'll get into all of that much more later on this week. But for now, a focus on the system, on the draft, and a discussion with myself and Gaurav. I am joined now by a genuine prospect expert. Gaurav, welcome back to the podcast. It's a post-draft discussion this time. I did, to be fair, I was just talking before we started recording. I felt bad about asking you to do this because I know you're really busy right now, but I didn't ask you to do the pre-draft episode. So that was a small concession. I could have begged you to come on 2 weeks ago too. How you doing, man?
No, I'm doing great. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm all right. I mean, it's the season of prospect analysis. The draft being when it is really interesting to me. In general, it's kind of like in that in between where like you're almost doing trade deadline stuff as well, but the draft is happening, and then the deadline, and then the Braves where they are in the standings is different this time around. But people have an appetite. I think, in fact, I can tell you this 100%. We got a lot of people asking for an expert such as yourself, and in fact, you by name multiple times, like, hey, when's Gord coming on and talk about the draft? I'm like, hey, right now is the answer to that question.
Thrilled to do it, man.
So it's been a little while now since the draft actually happened. We have some distance. I know you were really in the weeds, and I really appreciate your coverage. And by the way, I was listening today to Peach State Prospects. People should be listening to your show about the Braves system and all of that. But we'll kind of dive, of course, into some guys. But I want to know what you think about the overall way the Braves approach the draft. And that could be wherever you want to take it, quality of the guys they got, the way they, kind of manipulate and that sounds more negative than I mean it, but like going underslot on some guys to spend later, all of the machinations that happened in the draft. What was kind of your takeaway from what they did over the course of 3 days?
I think it was consistency. The Braves have had this kind of philosophy of going under in the first round to be able to open up picks later in the draft itself. The only main difference is they really focus on positional players at the beginning of the draft. Outside of that, there weren't too many big flags. They got great value out of that top pick with Tate Southesine, being able to bring him at 2.6 and then allowing you to be able to draft a few more players like a Briggs McKenzie and a Connor Essenberg, which I'm sure we're going to go over here pretty soon. Being able to then accumulate those other kinds of assets and talents, that was a superb job. And, in terms of like my overall evaluation, I don't really draft grades are really useless specifically in baseball. Like basketball, different, right? I would say you see that contribution a lot sooner, and then there's only 5 people playing. But when it comes to baseball, like you really don't know most of these guys and how they're gonna progress over the next 5 to 6 years. So in terms of like a draft grade, like I don't care for those. I think they're pretty useless. But overall, I am a fan of how the draft came together for the Braves, and essentially what it comes down to is I think they were able to acquire 4 potential first round talents in that single draft between rounds 1 through 4. So overall, you want to have those high impact guys, and that's exactly what the Braves were able to identify and then execute.
It totally makes sense, and as someone who's covered enough NBA or even NFL drafts at times, no one likes draft grades when they have to do them, but I 100% agree with you about it being even sillier in baseball, because there's just no way to do, even if you knew, like you obviously scout these guys, people that know a lot more than I do still don't like to do these things. Our friend Carlos Collazo is like, I don't want to do, like, you have to sometimes for like content reasons. Your editor says write draft grades, you kind of have to just do it or whatever, but it is kind of a silly exercise, so we're not going to do that here today. But I'm glad you brought that up, because it was kind of funny watching, I know you and others talking about that in real time, like, oh, what's the grade? It's like, I'm not doing this. I'm absolutely not doing this, which is fine. I won't make you do that here. It was on my list to ask you. You brought it up. in kind of leading up to the draft, we were all kind of laughing about how pitching focused they had been the last several seasons. It was probably the number one talking point ahead of the draft. And the Braves were like, you know what? Not this time around. We're going to be much more position player focused. You think that was intentional? Like, or was that just like, hey, we don't necessarily, I never thought it was intentional to only draft pitching. They just kind of happened to do that. I don't think that was, maybe it was, maybe you disagree. I don't know. This is, I should be asking you, but it felt like it was a clear departure, but also maybe not an intentional one. Does that make sense?
No, for sure. I think that the biggest thing is the focus on shortstops. I think that might have been intentional. After talking with Ronan Shaw from the Braves, he did say the ability for shortstops to be able to move around, all around the field is a premium, really premium tool to be able to have. So being able to bring someone like a Tate Southesy and like a Cody Miller, who are able to potentially, not saying they need to right now, but to potentially have to shift to third or center field, having that kind of positional versatility adds to their value when upon signing them. So I wouldn't say that it was some gross departure from what's happened in the past. I think what we've seen in the past are their models, and then the Braves going with a combination of best player available. And it just happened to be a lot of them tend to be pitchers just because of the general number, right? Matt Powers had a top 120 right-handed pitchers for the draft article before the draft came out.
Matt is a total sicko, by the way.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
Matt. He's a total sicko.
Just the number of pitchers that you have available in each draft, whether it be from the right or left-hand side, is going to be sizable and bigger than the player position pool. And so we just happen to see that the Braves really, at the top of their list, just happened to be more of the positional players that were available that fit their model and then fit the BPA, filter with that. And, the only thing to add on is to really stress that I just happen to think that there was a focus on shortstop because of that positional versatility.
Yeah, it's kind of a normie question, but it's one that we even got that I almost answered on a mailbag on the show, even though acknowledging we don't cover minor league prospects as well as you do. Like basically like, hey, why would they take 3 shortstops in a row? Mm-hmm. And what you said is basically what I was thinking too. Like the best play, this is very simplified. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the best players at lower levels just tend to play shortstop and center field, and they can get moved off of those spots much more easily than being moved onto those spots. Like basically you're just drafting the best athletes. Is that a reasonable interpretation of what they're doing here?
You tend to see the top players in every single draft. They're going to be your middle infield. They're going to be your straight up the middle. Those are going to be your best athletes. They're going to be the ones that have the best arms, the best range, all of that. And so those people tend to be able to shift towards other positions. And as you put on, height and weight, when you talk about prep players, you don't know how they're going to grow up, right? Some of them, they come in at 17, 18 years old, and before you know it, they're 6'7", and they weigh 225, and suddenly you can't, unless you're O'Neal Cruz, you can't play shortstop. So you really want to, it's just the versatility around it. Like Tate and Cody Miller, again, they can both play up the middle, whether it be in the infield or the outfield. You bring up someone like Connor Essenberg, who's going to, maybe not have that amount of versatility, but he's going to be a big arm in the outfield. Dixon Williams, their 4th round comp pick, is another one that brings positional versatility, slots in a second, or he can also play one of the outfield positions. So it's just you see more of the premium talent tend to play those specific positions because they're able to then move around all around the outfield and the infield. And it just gives you so much more flexibility, and they tend to be your highest, it's such a incredibly what's the best way to say this? Like a premium position that you want to have the best athletes there. So it just makes sense based on those kinds of factors that you just overall tend to see shortstops and center. Well, maybe not center fielders, but shortstops, especially early in the draft, because they tend to be the best athletes, and they're able to move around the diamond and things like that.
Yeah, I probably opened Facebook or something at some point during the draft and had to close it really fast about some of the funny positional takes. You know how it is, like certain X team, why are they drafting this player? They have this player at the major league level. It's like, well, that's not how the baseball draft works. You're taking the best players available. And by the way, I mean, I guess there's probably less of that this time because the Braves don't really have a shortstop. I can imagine if the Braves still had a great shortstop, people would be like, what is going on? Why are they drafting shortstops? But you just laid out why they would be doing that. They're just kind of drafting the best players available. And as we're recording this, or after earlier this happened, the Braves actually formally announced on Tuesday that they've signed all 21 picks. So the assumption is most of the time you're gonna try to sign all your guys, but the Braves have already done that pretty quickly. Is there a takeaway to that? We'll get into kind of the players after this, but kind of just buttoning it up in a week and a half. That's fun to see. I'm sure it allows, like, there's no drama, no like Carter Stewart situations when you're waiting on guys and not being able to sign them. You know what I mean? It's kind of done with now, and they know what they can kind of move forward.
It makes it a lot easier. And on top of that, players are able to then go into camp sooner. They're able to get behind these coaches, get started in their professional careers. It's just an absolute no-lose situation. Everybody wins when they sign early. And then on top of that, you can then, even thinking about like the overall execution of the Braves strategy, since they were able to sign everyone, it clearly worked out. And we haven't seen the slot values for all of them, but I have to imagine they came within that 5% and they, used their max slot. So, it shows that they had a plan, they stuck to it, they executed it. And then on top of that, everyone wants to be in the organization and start their professional careers.
All right, we'll get back to our MLB draft discussion with myself and Gaurav Vedak in a moment. But first, a player spotlight from our friends at DraftKings. We are sponsored today by the good folks at DraftKings and the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. All you have to do is pick more or pick less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and you're in the mix for cash prizes. And our player spotlight today is Matt Olson. So not a lot's gone well for the Braves this year. We all know that. We just got done talking about how they are in the worst spot they've been in all year long. Record-wise, I am fully aware of the dire nature of what's happened with the Braves. With that said, Matt Olson is having a very, very good season. He reached base 4 times on Wednesday. He now has an OPS of almost 1,100 since the break. The last week or so has a 137 WRC plus for the season, 18 home runs, a walk rate above 13%, which is very impressive for a power guy that he is. Has the second highest OBP on the team, behind only the absolute star that Ronald Acuna Jr. is. And again, I understand it's been an otherwise dismal season for the Braves. But Matt Olson now leads all Major League first basemen in both Fangraphs WAR and Baseball Reference WAR. In other words, if you're not a big believer in those metrics, I get it, but there's a consensus now in the numbers that he has been the best and most valuable first baseman in all of baseball this season. So I haven't been seeing as much negativity about Olson in Braves circles as I was earlier in the season or maybe in the offseason. And part of that's probably because the Braves are just losing, so that's equal opportunity negativity. But I would just emphasize that Matt Olson has been basically back to what he is supposed to be. He has been a star-level player this season. No, he isn't going to hit 50 home runs again this year, but he has been a star. He has been the best first baseman in all of baseball this season, and not for a little bit. We are now, past the 100-game mark of the season for the Braves. So this is a, 2/3 of the way through the season level for Matt Olson. He's been awesome this season and worth shouting that out at the top of the podcast. And now we'll take a look at some of the Pick 6 options heading into the weekend. All right, and with the Braves off until Friday, we're actually going to go a little bit of a change here at the Pick 6 app from DraftKings and actually look at the PGA Tour options for Thursday. They cover everything across the board at Pick 6, and one of those things is golf. We're going with 2 picks for the 3M Open that begins on Thursday, one of which is we're going to go with Tony Finau to finish better than 34.5 finishing position, so basically top 34 for Tony Finau. And then we're also going to go with Max Homa to play more than 36.5 holes, which essentially means Max Homa to make the cut. That is the Pick 6 play for Thursday. And again, plenty of MLB on there beginning on Thursday as well into Friday with the Braves coming back, NFL, etc. It's all there for you at Pick 6. Pick 6 from DraftKings is the most fun way to play daily fantasy sports. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That is code FOUL for new customers to get a special sign-up offer, better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
So on the plan you brought up, a lot of that goes with going under slot on the first 3 picks. I believe all 3 of those guys were under slot, and that's Tate Southesine, Alex Lodis, Cody Miller, who are all shortstops. At least they're listed as shortstops. And then they go way over slot with Briggs McKenzie, who I think made as much, or was it more? I don't have it in front of me. Was it more than Salvador got, or as much, or something close?
Yeah, Briggs came in at $3 million, and Tate was at 2.6.
So that's just, for a normie outsider, even myself, honestly, it's like, it is kind of strange that the 4th round pick would get more than the 1st round pick. And I'll just throw that out there but to your point, it was a plan, it was a strategy. I saw some people, and I don't think they were doing this in bad faith, maybe kind of downplaying Salfazine because it was clearly going to be an underslot pick. And it's like, well, is this guy actually a 1st round pick? I'm sure you saw a lot of that too. It was like, this guy actually a 1st round talent? Are they just being cheap? They're not being cheap. I know that for a fact. But starting with Salfazine, like, what do you make of him as a prospect, being that he is the guy that, for better or worse, will be attached as the 1st round pick, which means it's a different level of attention for people like me. It's like when you open up Baseball Reference, 1st round pick, more pressure, more attention. What do you make of him?
So what he really has going for him, and we actually discussed this on the podcast yesterday, is Tate has, for a prep shortstop, you tend to think, there's going to be a lot of variance. Who knows what success is for him? Is he going to come in and strike out a ton? Will he needed more help with his approach and things like that? But with Tate, he's actually extremely polished for his age. He's got a good hit tool. He's got a good approach. He's able to recognize breaking pitches. What it really stands out about him specifically is the fact that as a prep player, and this actually means a lot, as a prep player, he has a relatively high floor. And when you talk about prep players, you tend to think, anything is possible. They can go in and they can be major league all-stars, or, they come in and they never get above A-ball. And that's just the variance that comes with 18-year-olds trying to play this really, really difficult game. So with Tate it's really interesting because he does have that high-end potential. While he won't be like a Carlos Correa with 30, 35 plus home run potential, he's someone that has a good hit tool. He should be able to get on base. He should be able to do decently, stealing bases. And I do see some projection in his power. I can see him coming in, 18 to 20 during his peak, and then overall also provide really fantastic defense up the middle. And so you end up getting a really, really well-rounded individual that, doesn't have as much boom or bust potential for a 1st round pick, and more specifically for a 1st round prep pick.
Yeah, I mean, everything that I read and see, I like. I won't tell you that I have the background to analyze Tate's game, but it seems like a guy that would be very appealing. And again, not to emphasize this too much, I know it's kind of a silly thing if you follow this closely, but yes, he was maybe mocked a little bit lower than this. Like, does that matter? I mean, at all? Just to answer, I don't. It doesn't. My read is that the answer is no, but I want to know what you will say when I ask that question. Does it matter that he was mocked lower than this? Like, is there any disappointment or anything like that?
I think you can play those kinds of games in your mind and say, oh, maybe they could have drafted someone else, and then maybe they can slide him at that same slot value, and then the rest of the draft works out fine. Like, yeah, that's totally possible. But clearly, the Braves had Tate on top of their list, between not only from their scouting department, but also from their advanced models that they used for projection, and they felt like he was, again, had the combination of the highest potential and the lowest bust rate. And, I tend to agree with that.
It makes total sense. And it is one of those, not to compare everything to basketball or football, but it's one of those things where you were like, 5 years from now, people will pull up the draft order, and if the guy goes the spot behind him that's better, this happens all the time. It's like, why didn't they draft this guy? Well, that's why I'm leading with the fact that it is an entire plan, and it's everything has to come together. It doesn't mean it's going to work. You could still miss. Teams, everybody misses. Like baseball, the miss rate is so high in the baseball draft for obvious reasons. But I feel like that it's worth emphasizing, even though I know it's fruitless. People are going to ignore this no matter what in 5 years and go back, and whichever guy pops behind him will be the one they talk about. But it's not cut and dry. You're not just drafting the best player with no other considerations in the way that you would in other drafts where it's firmly slotted in for what the guys make. I know we're being repetitive, but I want to make sure that gets the point across. It's like, he's obviously a guy they like. They wouldn't have taken, even with this plan, they clearly had a 1st round level grade on the guy, or they wouldn't take him. Does that make sense?
I mean, I still have Tate, Alex, Briggs, and Connor Essenberg with 1st round grades. So, with Briggs and Connor, it's more projection. Tate, You saw that his tools are higher at the current level. That's why he, without a doubt, is a first round talent. But then when you talk about Connor and Briggs, I within 3 years when they come out of college, you're talking about two players that might be top 5 overall. And so like it seems like a lot of money, but clearly the Braves believe in their projection and believe in what they saw from them, and they think that they can bring them in, get them with their player development, which has been fantastic over the past year and a half. Now I'm not just talking pitchers; I'm talking positional players as well, and get their career started sooner. And I tend to agree, and I think they did. I think they did a really interesting job of identifying really 6 players that I think have high end potential and can make contributions on the major league level if they continue to develop the way they are.
It makes sense. And we'll come back to Lodis and Miller, but I want to ask about Briggs McKenzie because he did get the $3 million or so bonus, high school pitcher out of North Carolina. Clearly, a weird quirk of the baseball draft is that he had a first round grade for a lot of people. It's like, can you sign him? Do you have the money to spend? Exactly. He's the guy that kind of splurged on, and I think it was like $2 million over slot. It's a lot of money over the slot value, all those things. But what's the projection on him? Obviously, an 18-year-old, I think, pitcher. Yeah. It's going to be a while before we see him at a higher level, but clearly a guy that they wanted a lot, or they wouldn't have done what they did.
I mean, people always ask me, does this pitching prospect have top of the rotation impact? And with Briggs McKenzie, he absolutely does. Right now, as an 18-year-old, he's got 3+ pitches between his fastball, his curveball, and his changeup. Really, his curveball is the one that stands atop. It's got over 3,000 RPM. He can already command all 3 pitches as well. The biggest thing that a lot of people have really knocked on Briggs is the fact that he hasn't held his velocity throughout an entire start. Honestly, I don't care. That's something that strength and conditioning is going to get you there as long as you're a professional athlete. And that's what he is. By all accounts, there's no issues with his medical. So you can tag in that you can, once you factor in, the Braves player development and what they do, like typically for starting pitchers, you'll see them try and teach him a slider just to have some other kind of breaking pitch that he's able to get a few different planes going on the when he's facing someone. But with him right now, as is, he's got 3 pitches that he can throw for strikes. I see a lot like Cam Kennedy last year when he went first overall, someone that is able to throw 4 pitches for strikes at 18. It's just, you see a lot of projection with him, and I can see him working with that fastball, getting that fastball up to a more consistent 95 to 96, really topping around 97. That plus 2 other breaking pitches and potentially another slider. Like, you're looking at a really good 4-pitch mix from a lefty that can throw 97 and throw them all for strikes. So, everything hits the 99th percentile. You're talking about a top of the rotation player. If not, you're still talking about a major league caliber player.
Yeah, and that's always interesting to it's really hard to project, of course, but you want the ceiling and also the okay, what happens if he doesn't hit the ceiling? Like, is there a secondary outcome that's still a positive one where he could be a contributing major leaguer? It sounds like the answer to that is yes on paper with him.
It certainly seems that way. Yeah.
Obviously far away again, high school pitcher. The other high schooler you already mentioned, Connor Essenberg, high school outfielder. The other guy that went over on, I think he got like 1.2 million in the 5th round. You already mentioned you have him as a first round grade. That might sound surprising to people that saw a 5th round pick attached to him, but similar thing as far as like you're paying him more than he's supposed to get in that spot. You get him signed, etc. But Essenberg, what's kind of the pitch with him as a 18-year-old outfielder?
Yeah, so one reason why he was so expensive is you had to buy him out that commitment from Kentucky. He was going to be a 2-way player at Kentucky, and a lot of teams liked his arm enough to potentially draft him as a pitcher.
I was going to ask that question because I read that. Yeah. I was like, whoa, maybe he'll pitch at some point? I don't know. It's one of those things.
The Braves announced that he's going to be an outfielder, so by all accounts, I imagine they're just going to stick him with a bat and have him play the outfield because that potential with the bat is enormous. And you're talking about a middle of the order type of bat with pristine power. The only flag on him right now, because he's got a decent approach again for someone that's 18. It's you're gonna hit that first wave where you start seeing some curveballs that are a little better than you did in high school, and you start seeing sliders. You're like, oh crap, okay, this is a little more difficult. But he's not one that whiffs a ton. He's not chasing out of the strike zone a lot. The hit tool has still got some work to do. I think right now it's got a value of like 45. So you want to see if you can get it closer to a 50 with that same approach, because if you're able to, and you're talking about someone that can hit, I don't know, like 270 to 280, you're talking about an OBP that's going to be over 370. And you're talking about a slugging percentage that most likely is going to be over 500, because he's got monster power. And then on top of that, while he's not extremely fast, he is an athlete, so he can do more than okay in the field itself. And then he's got a rocket for an arm. He's throwing darts. He's looking like Ronald Acuna with the ball in his hand. and right. So there is a lot to like about Connor Essenberg. And just when we were reporting yesterday, between me, Garrett, and Matt, he was the one that we identified. He might be our most exciting prep pick that we believe the Braves have taken in the past like 8 to 10 years.
Wow, I mean that's a long time. And also, I mean, we just went through it, but McKenzie is a prep pick. Salvestein is a prep pick as well. So three of these guys that we're talking about in their top 5 or 6 picks this year were high school guys. So for you guys to say that collectively is that an upside? Is that because of the upside? Is it playing style? Is it all those things?
It's absolute monster upside. He's a bat. If everything works out, he's a bat that you build a franchise, that you build a lineup around, because he can hit for average and he can hit for huge power. He's going to be a massive run producer. Again, we're talking about projections. Anything can happen.
Yes.
But when you're drafting, you want to think about best case scenario. And with the way the Braves have done, and with the changes that they've made really recently over the past couple of years, and their overall hitting styles, like you're seeing a much more not aggressive, but a much more like a bigger focus on overall approach and pitch recognition, because you're seeing a lot of the Braves positional players like an Isaiah Drake, like an Owen Carey, Eric Hartman, even David McCabe, some of the older ones, Ethan Workinger, like these guys have all taken huge step forwards in their approach. They're not swinging, they're not chasing nearly as much outside the zone. They're putting the ball in play. Yeah, some of these balls are going straight into the ground, and that's something that you work on. But overall, you're seeing the Braves really try and shift the way that they fundamentally kind of go about hitting. And we're seeing some of those results happen in the minors as of right now. And so for players like Alex Lodies and Connor Essenberg, where you have slightly more aggressive, slightly worse hit tools, it's like the perfect system for them to come into at this exact moment. And I really think those two are kind of picks that the Braves really, really wanted to make for that exact reason. It's exactly what they're trying to do throughout the organization. And, if those guys do make those changes and they are able to adapt, you're talking about complete game changers in your lineup.
You know about the best place to buy, sell, trade, or look for that special card in your world. It's called Arena Club, and Eric Kratz just went through a little slab pack experience, and you went big. You went for the Ruby pack.
I love it. I love clicking on the Ruby pack and knowing that I'm going to open something that is going to be epic. I got a Cal Ripken Jr. autographed 1 of 42. I'm keeping it right now, but I would love to have it in my hand, so I might even have them send it to me. Already graded. Everything taken care of for me.
That's right. You want to hang it up and stare at it all day, go for it. But if you're in there to get something else or to sell it away, you can do that. They've got the buyback program, or you can put it on the marketplace yourself. Tons of options. This is where the best cards live. It's arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL for 20% off your first slab pack, or if you'd like to purchase a card, 20% off your first card purchase. Again, arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL.
I wanted to go back to Lodies. So actually, maybe I want to group these guys together. You could separate them if you want to, but Lodies, Cody Miller, and also Dixon Williams, who you mentioned briefly before, all middle infielders, all four-year college guys, different players, of course. Lodies was the 2nd round pick, Miller in the 3rd, and then Williams as the 4th round comp pick. Different obviously profiles than the high upside prep guys, but a clear investment again in 3 up the middle guys, veterans by prospect standards. Like, how do you differentiate these guys? What's the appeal for all 3 of them? How do they kind of stack up alongside the big spend on the prep guys?
So they have like a bunch of different skill sets. With Alex Lodies, you're seeing someone that chases the ball a little more, but has a great swing for power. and he's able to really drive that ball into the gap extremely well. I can see him hitting 18 to 25 home runs a season. He's going to be a little more aggressive. He might strike out a little more, but he's going to play a really solid shortstop. He's got a good arm there. I see absolutely no reason why he needs to move off that position. And when you're able to add someone that's at least league average on the glove side, and then is able to hit at shortstop, able to hit, potentially 25 homers, get on base at a 340, 350 clip, that's an above average shortstop and someone that a lot of teams are trying to go after. When it comes to Dixon Williams, that's someone with a little bit of a higher floor, a little more polished, but the tools aren't as loud. So even with him, that's someone at worst case is going to be, a potential quad A player that's able to provide tons of value in your organization still. If everything goes well for him, you're seeing a utility infielder that's able to get on base, and that has tons of value as well. And that's going to be another major league quality player in the comp round. And then when it comes to Cody Miller, he's like one of the biggest wild cards, because when you look at what he's done and you think about like the competition, he went to East Tennessee State. He didn't have, I think he's had like 5 to 6 games against Power 4 teams, which he actually absolutely thrived. I think he hit like 4 of the 6 home runs against Power 4. But there's just, you don't know how he's going to do against increased competition throughout a season. But from what we see and what we can project, you're talking about someone that's got like a 50 to 55 hit tool. So that's going to be average to above average, just being able to make contact. He's got good power at 50 to 55. So again, someone that might be able to hit 20 to 25 home runs. And then he's got 70 speed. So he's stealing 30 plus bags. And then on top of that, he's got a 60 arm. So he's someone that has a ton of really, really intriguing tools. And the fact that, he went to East Tennessee State, I would imagine is the reason why he went in the third. Because you look at his numbers, you look at what his overall approach, you look at his swing. He's someone that chased, I think the number was 8%. Like he's not going to go outside the strike zone. He knows what he can do. And he had a modest uptick in power going into his junior year. So he's someone that's, for me, he's like one of the biggest wild cards. He could be a potential like Essenberg, like a lineup changing kind of player, because he's got that unique skill set. I think the best comparison to his upside would be someone like a Trey Turner. If he stays
that's a lot of upside.
Yeah, because you're talking about the power, you're talking about the plus, the double plus speed, the great arm, being able to stay at short. Like that's a really, really high upside. We just need to see him against slightly better competition, because again, East Tennessee State. And then on top of that, I think he's like 5'11", so he's a bit on the smaller side, but he's got that good approach. He's got that good swing. And really, he's someone I'm going to really monitor, because if that hit tool is what we think it could be, he's easily top 10, in your organization.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to ask that kind of normie question about where these guys slot in. I'm sure you've thought about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you finalized all of your updated rankings mid-season, but give me kind of even like the range of where some of these top 5-6 guys in this class would slot in the system, because I'm sure people are already asking you that question. They've already asked me, and I have no idea. So this is why I'm asking you.
No, totally. And we actually talked about this yesterday, and how I think we're going to be revealing like our top 30 lists come the end of next week. But, just taking a quick glance, I have Alex Lodis in my top 10 right now, because his current value is so high compared to the rest. I have Tate Southacene, I believe, top 10 as well. Lodis is probably top 8. Tate's going to be top 10. That doesn't mean, again, the ranking doesn't mean that I think one's better than the other. I think Southacene has higher potential, but Alex Lodis right now is better than any other pick that the Braves have drafted.
Well, and he's 4 years old. He's 4 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that, everybody. Southeacene's a high school kid. Lodis is a 4-year college player. It's different timelines.
Absolutely. Briggs McKenzie I'm going to have in my top 15. Cody Miller, I believe, is going to be top 20 for me. Connor Essenberg will definitely be top 25. And then Dixon Williams is probably going to hover right around 30. So, I mean, we were talking, six top 30 in the first 5 rounds. Like that's a really solid draft. And of course, a lot of it has to do with the state of the farm system as is, and it being so pitcher heavy. And, the new wave, of course, the next new wave of talent is going to be those position players. But yeah, I think I have the Braves at 6 top 30 from this draft.
And they did go pitching heavy down the board. The guys we won't talk about probably a ton like individually. I think I want to say it was like maybe 12 of their last 15 picks were pitchers, something like that in the 20-round draft.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
I think they had three outfielders after round 6. They had 3 outfielders, and everyone else was a pitcher. I think
Yeah. And also, this is a very normal thing to say. I was surprised that they didn't draft a single player from the state of Georgia. They just always seem to do that, and they didn't this time. Like, I kind of joked with Carlos, like, oh, there's no Georgia guys on this list? What's going on here? Not that they have to do that. It's just one of those things. Is there anybody else that, down the board, even the undrafted? I know Matt has been talking about some undrafted guys that they've been able to sign. Anybody else that you are excited about that we've not discussed so far that was, outside of the top 5-6 rounds?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that really stand out. First one being their 6th round pick, Landon. Oh man, Beetleskis. I believe.
Go.
Sorry,
Good
Hawks fans, if I got that wrong. I see enormous relief potential with him. I don't really see that third pitch with his changeup. It's not quite there. But if he goes into a more straight reliever role, I think he's a really, really fast rising arm. In that same vein, that's Jay Woolfolk from UVA. He's got a dynamite fastball slider combination. There was some talk about him potentially going back to college, so being able to eventually sign him is actually significant news and really good for the Braves. When you look at Logan Forsythe in the 13th round, he has absolutely no idea where the ball is going. However, if you look at his overall arsenal, that's a day one talent. And so he's someone that you're watching really, really closely to see, can the Braves make something out of him, because the arm talent is enormous. He's a 1st round draft pick. If you're just going straight from arm talent, the only unfortunate thing is doesn't really know where it's going. And then another player would be their 8th round pick, Carter Lovaz, who comes in with a unique arm angle and has a really good 3-pitch mix, and someone you can see projection out of him. He's a 4th-year senior. He's signed for $7,500. So the fact that you're able to get him for that cheap, and someone that I could see potentially becoming a major league player, that's outstanding. And then if we look at the undrafted side of things, they've made a few signings that have been really intriguing. Yamvir Carrero, the Puerto Rican shortstop. The whole things that we've heard about with Puerto Rican shortstops is toolsy, but hit tool's not there. That's exactly what he's got. He's going to be a plus defender at short. He looks like he can hit for power, but right now we don't know if he's going to hit. But again, that's someone that you sign every day, right? That's someone that has more than enough intrigue as a player. Caden Merritt, who was really I did not expect him. He's someone that was committed to Coastal Carolina, that were just in the College World Series, and he decides to sign with the Braves. He's someone that, again, has a ton of projection. The hit tool right now is a giant question mark, but if he's able to hit, then you're talking about a potential 5-tool player. So there's and then they just signed Jalen from Georgia Tech. He led the Tech pitching staff in ERA. I think I got that stat right. He led the Tech pitching staff in ERA this year. He's someone that is a top 150 talent from the very beginning, but he has had so many horrible injuries that it's just ruined his collegiate career. So he's someone that's got a giant question mark next to his name. If he stays healthy and if he is throwing strikes like we think he can, that is a fantastic 1st round talent that the Braves are able to sign as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, I was reading, I think it was from Matt, that he was at one was a 2-way guy too, down at Georgia Southern, athletic and interesting player that people. I know we have some Tech fans. I'm sure we have some Tech fans that will know him already, but that'll be interesting a name. Before I get you out of here, and I promise I will, I want to ask you about anything that's interesting to you about the minor league system beyond the draft guys, because we joked about this before we started recording, but going to be more eyeballs on you guys, which is good on the system during the especially August and September, if the Braves are actually out of it, and they appear to be on their way to being out of it at that point in time. For example, I saw today Owen Murphy pitching the game for the first time in a long time, and that's a guy that's a name people know, a big time prospect that's been hurt for a year plus. Tommy John came back today. I don't know if you watched it. I want to put you on the spot, but I saw that he pitched today. That's a story. So what should people be looking for that are not dialed in all the time on the minor system? Guys by the way, there's opportunity in the major leagues down the stretch, probably, especially pitching wise. Like there will be innings to throw.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you focus on the pitching side of things, which is where the Braves have insane depth, if you go to AAA, you're looking at 5 top 30 prospects in the starting staff, right? You have Blake Burkhalter, who could potentially, I think he's at a career high in innings, so you could see him shifting towards the bullpen to kind of conserve that arm. He's 100% a major league baseball player. You got Dylan Dodd as well on Gwinnett. He's someone that's going to be in Atlanta. Didier Fuentes has had that stint. We want him to stay down there for the rest of the season, so maybe not someone that you want to see in the majors this year, but another arm that has ridiculous upside. Daysbel Hernandez will be back up in Atlanta. Domingo Gonzalez has an opportunity to be up in Atlanta because now he's locating that slider. Hayden Harris out of Georgia Southern. He's another intriguing arm. He's doing so well. He's locating that fastball so well at the top of the zone, and his fastball is flat. And so, he's got that unique VAA. So the hitters just have no idea what's going on. Giancarlo Lara with his 103 mile an hour fastball. He's someone that I think is going to be in Atlanta this year because he's really, since adjusting to being a reliever, he's really honed in his walk rate. It's gone down significantly, and now you're talking about a double plus 2-pitch mix between his fastball and slider. J.R. Ritchie is another player. I think between him and Blake Burkhalter are going to be 2 pitchers that are going to find their way to Atlanta either this year or next. And then Hurston Waldrop's another one. And then another very, very unique player that the Braves have and really fast-tracked him is Brett Sears. And the reason why is like you look at his some of his advanced metrics, and he's got like 7-foot extension, which is insane. And because of it, he throws 4 really nice pitches. He throws them all for strikes. So like, pitching wise, there's so much to enjoy if you just start at the very top at Gwinnett. And then for your more casual players, I want to see some of the positional talent, like really focus on the Augusta Green Jackets, because you have a lot of really intriguing players there. And while you look at the numbers and you're going to see like a 600, 620, 650 OPS, that doesn't mean that they're having bad seasons. What you're seeing right now is a giant shift in how the Braves are trying to coach their hitters itself. And that's really focusing on their approaches, being able to take walks, being able to cut down that chase rate. And like I said earlier, you're seeing that with Ambioris Tavares. You're seeing it with David McCabe, like players that have been in the organization where their hit tools, maybe not McKay, but where their hit tools were question marks. And you're seeing them start to shore up those question marks. And so while the numbers might not look gaudy, like you're seeing really concrete improvements throughout. And that's what's really getting me excited, especially for next year, because a lot of the high-end positional talent is going to be in Augusta or Rome. You're seeing Colby Jones, who has, again, a 615 OPS, but 50 stolen bases to 13 caught stealings. He stole 5 last year, right? You're seeing it's a refreshing new take on, not new, but it's just refreshing to really see the Braves focus on the strengths of these players, making sure those shine while also really focusing on, okay, here's what we think is the most important thing. And they're doing a great job of executing that. And I've tweeted this a few times. I've talked about this, but the staff that they have down in Augusta between Ruben Gotay, Garrett Wilkinson, Elvin Nina, like those are some of the best coaches I have seen in a long time. And the strength of hopefully what's going to become a strength, which is going to be the positional players. Like I don't see that risk in the organization anymore. And that should hopefully make everyone a lot more excited about the system than me.
Yeah, no, it does. It's also an opportunity. I'm talking to myself too. Like, if you don't feel like watching the Major League Club in August and September as much, maybe not every night because they might be out of it. Take a night and watch some minor league baseball. Like, there's some guys that you want to dream on and look at, and it can be fun to do. And I will certainly do more of that than I normally would down the stretch. That's just the reality of the situation. Like there's only so many hours in the day. I have other things to do, so I don't watch enough minor league stuff, but I'm going to watch some more minor league baseball until the season's over, basically. From this point forward, I'm going to want to do that. And you already mentioned a bunch of guys you'll see in the majors. You already said, just because I remembered it, Dylan Dodd was good in the majors this year in the bullpen. Like Dylan Dodd's kind of like a long afterthought as a starter, but like he was good in the bullpen this year. Like it has like an ERA in the 3s and like looked the part. Didier, by the way, has been a topic because he was obviously not ready yet, But like that's a guy that everybody should be still very excited about. People, it happens a lot. I know this happened. I know we talked about with Smith Shawver when we had you on in April, I think it was, about like, hey, don't just ignore this guy because he was not great in the majors at one point. Like Didier is really young and has a great arm. There's a reason why people like yourself and others were talking about how he's like maybe the best prospect in the system pitching wise. That doesn't go away because he was bad in the majors for like 5 starts. Like
I mean, when it comes to Didier, he was born like 2 weeks after I graduated from high school. So like,
yeah,
he's
basically a child. He really is.
To think about giving up on a player of that caliber, like, and the most important thing I can really press on anyone that wants to get into minor league baseball is like, don't look at overall results. Look at approach. See how they're doing. Are they swinging inside the zone? Are they staying? Are they not chasing? Like, these are significant things that they're working on an everyday basis. And while the numbers might not be there, it's important to see the development, and that's exactly what we've seen this year.
Yep, I look forward to it. That's great advice to me and others who like, hey, yes, I do check the box scores sometimes. I read. Also, this is a unsanctioned plug by you, but the minor league coverage of Battery Power is awesome if you don't have time to watch, because like, and that's been the case for years and years and years now. I used to work there. I don't work there anymore. No one's paying me there. It's great catch up reading. Like, you will learn a lot of things about guys if you don't have time to watch them. Is it still daily, or most days you have a minor league recap? It's
Every
a lot
day,
of words.
Every day but Tuesday. Yeah.
So 6 days a week, you'll have minor league content on Battery Power you can read and catch up on. So that was not, you didn't ask me to do that. It's true. Like, I've learned, I mean, to the extent that I actually know things, I've learned a lot about prospects for years and years I used to help edit those at one point. Now just reading them from the outside, it's valuable content. So hopefully people can get excited about the draft. I think, look, as a admitted casual observer of this stuff, I was impressed by the draft takeaways. Like, even people that don't cover the Braves, like people that are national folks, like talking to Carlos or reading Carlos, JJ Cooper, all these guys were like, hey, the Braves did really well. And it's like, if you don't want to believe the guys who cover the Braves all the time, number one, you should believe people like Gaurav. But like, hey, there's buzz about this draft class. That's fun in the middle of the season. And by the way, next year, it seems like they're going to have a pretty high draft pick, which could be even more fun. You get more attention on people like you, Gaurav, if they have a high draft pick next year. You start more sponsors.
Draft.
That's what I hear. So is it? We won't have to go long on this, but is it actually really like supposed to be totally?
Oh yeah, the position talent next year should be astronomical. It should be a really intriguing draft. On top of that, if Drake gets the rookie of the year, that's another first round pick.
Yep, extra pick. Yeah, there's if you are just inclined to follow the major league guys, I totally get it. Drake Baldwin winning rookie of the year would be big for everybody, and not just Drake Baldwin. It'd be fun to watch just for that standpoint. You always want a guy to do well and win awards and stuff like that, but it would help the team because you get an extra pick. That's one of the fun things about this weird CBA that we always talk about in baseball. There's so many quirks. Like, I know a lot about the basketball CBA, and then every time I'm like, is that actually true? And I ask somebody, I'm like, yeah, it's a weird thing about. Yeah, baseball's weird. I love it, but it's weird. It just is. Well, thank you, Gaurav, for being here. I appreciate it. We've already plugged some of your stuff, but please feel free. What's going on in your world? Where can folks find you and anything else you're doing, and follow along, as they absolutely should be?
No, I appreciate that. You can find me on Twitter at GVedak. And then really make sure if you're interested in more about the Braves draft, latest episode of Peach State Prospects is out on the stream on iTunes and Spotify. And then we're looking to really get that going for the second half of the season.
People should be doing that. I am a subscriber and a listener. It's fun to listen to, and I'm always like looking up names. I'll pause stuff like, who is this guy? I do a little search, and I'm a nerd like that because I don't know everybody, but I'm learning. Hey, it's a good time to dive in, and I will always admit what I don't know. So, Gaurav, thanks for doing this, man. I'm sure I'll beg to have you back at some point, preferably not at the same time that you're also asked by Grant and other people to do the same exact conversation. I'm sure. Hopefully, it was a little bit different than we did on this show. We love Grant, by the way. Grant McCauley, great. We love Grant. But you were also on there. Listen to that. Listen to Peach State Prospects. We're all across the board. Follow you on Twitter. We appreciate it. As for everybody else, please subscribe to Hammer Territory anywhere you find your podcast as well. And we'll see you all next time.